Jefferson curl, we're going to start with the head. So the best place to think about looking is into the belly button. So that's going to ensure that the entire spine rounds. The whole point of the Jefferson curl is to actually round the back. So you want to think about the vertebrae almost segmenting down one at a time. So you're going to let the weight just hang. You don't want to pull on the weight like a deadlift. Just let the weight hang in front of you. And Ben's going to think about crunching his abs and really rounding. As you can see, he's got a nice uniform curve all the way down to the glutes. He's going to get into the bottom. He's going to pause for 5 seconds. And then out of the bottom, you're going to think about just extending the hips and squeezing the glutes. The rest will follow. So he's just going to think about squeezing the hips all the way through. And he's going to come back up to his just neutral standing position. That's rep 1. You're going to go 5 reps. So Ben wants to show another rep. Just always start with the head. Okay, the spine will follow the head. So if you're looking up or forward, you're going to have a flat back. You want to have nice rounded back, so make sure you tuck the chin. As you can see, Ben's really flexible here. So knees are locked out, squeezing the hips, coming back to the neutral position. So now Brandon's going to grab. Usually we have guys, this is his first time doing this exercise, so we want to start somewhere around 5% of your body weight. If you're a little stronger, you can go a little bit more, but I wouldn't start with too much more than about 7.5% of your body weight. All right, all the same cues apply. So he's going to tuck his chin, look into the belly button, let the weight relax. And if you almost want to think about somebody's trying to poke you in your chest, it's going to really make sure that you round out, spread the shoulder blades down. He's going to go down as deep as he can. He's going to pause for his 5 seconds, and then out of the bottom, he's going to squeeze his glutes. So think about driving the hips all the way through, and then coming to the top, neutral position, resetting. So really let those shoulder blades spread apart. So a lot of you guys that have been like deadlifting and things like that, bench pressing, you're going to have a habit of wanting to pull those shoulders back. Really let your shoulder blades just spread apart to the front of the ribs. Good. If you're really tight, it's okay to have a slight knee bend at first, but know that over time you want to be able to fully lock out your knees. So by engaging your quads, all right, remember we want to use our abs. So really think about crunching with your abs. You know, not only are we stretching all the calves, hamstrings, glutes, low back, upper back, but we're really focusing on using our quads, hip flexors, and abs to really crunch and fold in half. This is really good for his first time. Yep. And really film yourself. Send your videos into our form coach. Make sure that this is all round. You don't want to be flat during this movement. Obviously, if it's your first time and you're tight, there's going to be some flatness, but over time, you want a nice, uniform curve, just like that. That was really good.
Nice. Now you want to give the final tips?
Yeah. And so then I'll actually just use the weights that Brandon's using here. You know, if you're a beginner, you don't need a box. You know, if you can't touch your toes, like a box won't be necessary, but if you have one, it is useful because it will give you like a kind of a target you can reach for. All right. One of the biggest things to remember when doing the Jefferson curl is when you get to the bottom, you want to think about almost pulling yourself a little bit deeper with your hip flexor. So I'll just kind of show what that's going to look like. So if I go down, you know, obviously my flexibility, actually, I'm going to have to switch boxes. So I'll go to the big boy box here. So as you go down, you'll kind of find where the end of your range is, and then from there you want to think about almost, you can see that I use my hip flexors to pull, almost lift my hips up towards the ceiling and pull myself a little bit deeper into that stretch. All right, so curl down.
And his wrist, see in relation to the toes, now he's beyond, the point is getting the wrist below toes. That's like our fundamental target of this movement, even more so than the weight. The weight will come up gradually as the year goes on. But that wrist, boom, right there, that getting to that level of depth, we know that anyone can achieve that level of depth, and that is the standard and the target right off the bat from level 1 of getting to that level of depth. I can take the camera now. All right, Jeff, so Adam is gonna show here now using a weight that you would only get to after a year or more progression.
Yeah, so So Adam's got all the same cues apply, as you can see. He's nice and rounded. Okay, you can really think about almost pushing the bar away. Good. He's starting with the chin. He's rounding down. He's really, really reaching. When he gets to the bottom, he's going to think about really compressing as much as he can, squeezing those glutes, and then coming back to the top. So as you can see too, use the hips, use the low back. You don't want to pull the bar towards the body here. Just the bar will get closer as you extend the hips, naturally. Good.
Outstanding.
That's really good for that weight. That's really, really good.
Yep. Yeah, that goes past. We've challenged Adam to show the level 3 standards for each. You can see his wrists. You got one more in you?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on those wrists. You can see how outstanding this is. Boom, look at that right there, outstanding. So you can see here the final board. The initial target would be 25% of your weight using 5-second pauses, then 3-second pauses with a little more, 1-second pause. And Jeff, you said that in general, basically someone would go up in weight about every 4 weeks.
Yeah, I would say every 4 weeks. The thing you want to focus on is kind of like some of the other exercises. You use a weight that is light enough that won't stop you short, but heavy enough that it assists the stretch. So, I mean, even me, even though I can do it with my body weight, I usually only ever train it really probably anywhere between, like, I would say, 50% of my body weight is probably really the most I'll ever actually train it. Doesn't mean I can't do more, but it's just, as you can see, I can get really, really deep and I don't really need that much weight. So, this obviously is like a long-term goal, being able to do body weight or something like that, but every 4 weeks I would jump, maybe 2.5 kilos or so. And by the end of that year,
That's
if you can
12
just do
jumps, or more in a year,
that's
13
12
jumps in a year.
Yeah. So,
And
I mean,
for me personally, I started this exercise on a box with lightweight, a bar, and was simply only getting to my toes.
Yep.
This is where I started. I had dysfunctions in my spine. I wasn't quite rounding all the way. So I started very, very slow and regressed, and over a year of careful, diligent approach, adding weight slowly.
That's probably as heavy as you've gone, huh?
This is one of the heaviest I've gone, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all about doing it smart. This exercise, you have to do it properly. You have to pay attention to the form. That's why we ask you to send everything in on the form clips. This stuff.
Different movements that have a different
movements
purpose.
that you
RDL,
never
you're
done.
going to go to 150% body weight by the end of the year. So
Exactly. So different purpose, different exercise. Do it smart and do it diligently and work your way up.